The Full Moon Mystery, a Tale Unresolved. Basu. The year was 2010, and I had just stepped into the unfamiliar terrain of Cleveland, Ohio, fresh from completing my PhD at Worcester Polytech. The transition from Worcester had been challenging, leaving behind close friends, and the life I had woven there was no small feat. The Cleveland skyline greeted me with a mix of anticipation and uncertainty as I prepared to board my postdoctoral journey at Case Western Reserve University. The first few days in Cleveland were a whirlwind of settling into my new apartment and navigating the bustling streets. The warm reception at Professor Rosenblatt's lab was a relief, making me feel welcomed and valued. A few days later, the postdoctoral orientation introduced me to a host of other postdocs, a diverse group of individuals who would soon become part of my daily life. As the days went by, my friendships blossomed with 3 other postdocs: Steve from my own lab, Bruno from the mechanical engineering department, and Sudeep from the materials science department. Our connections deepened, and we began to spend more time together, often hanging out at each other's apartments. With Steve being American, Bruno hailing from Germany, and Sudeep, like me, being from India, our group was a melting pot of cultures and backgrounds. As days turned into weeks, the bonds between us grew stronger. Steve, Bruno, Sudeep, and I were an eclectic group, each with our unique backgrounds. Our shared pursuits and common joys brought us together despite the cultural diversity. While Steve and Sudeep lived closer to the campus, Bruno and I resided in the same building, our apartments a mere floor apart in Cleveland Heights, about 5 miles away. Bruno and I, in particular, struck a chord. It was Bruno who introduced me to the joy of biking to the university, a habit that would shape our experiences in the coming months. One Saturday evening, after brainstorming ideas for a lab project with Steve in my apartment, he suggested we call Bruno over for dinner. Our work often intertwined, making it a practical opportunity to discuss concepts. However, a sense of unease began to creep in when Bruno didn't answer his phone. I decided to investigate and found that Bruno's apartment was empty, and his bike was also absent. Steve and I exchanged puzzled glances, wondering where he could have gone so late at night. We dined, and soon after, Steve headed home. The following morning, Bruno showed up at my doorstep, explaining his absence. He had gone camping at Brandywine Falls in the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, a location I had heard about half an hour's drive from us. During our lunch at the university cafeteria on Monday, Bruno recounted his solo adventure. He had set off around 6 p.m. on the previous Saturday, equipped with a tent and his bike in his car. He described an evening of camping followed by a night bike ride along a forested trail under the light of a full moon. The notion of biking through the woods on a moonlit night sounded exhilarating, and the idea of it being a full moon caught my attention. Our days were filled with work, laughter, and shared moments. Evenings were often spent discussing movies or philosophical questions. One such evening, Steve, Sudeep, and I went to watch the movie Inception, while Bruno decided on another night of solo camping. Bruno's choice to go camping solo that night surprised me, leaving both Steve and Sudeep equally bewildered. After the movie, the 3 of us engaged in a long discussion about the film and Bruno's continued solo camping trips. I noticed that the night we watched Inception was also marked by a full moon. The moon's charm seemed to hold a special significance for Bruno's nocturnal explorations. The following day, Bruno joined us for lunch at the university cafeteria, expressing his regrets for not joining us for the movie night. He shared his camping experience from the previous night, which led to a question that had been quietly brewing in me. Why did he consistently choose to go camping during full moons? Bruno's answer was simple yet intriguing. He found it easier to bike through the woods during the brilliance of a full moon. The logic was undeniable, making me realize why he was drawn to such outings. A couple of months later, as I returned from the university in the evening, Bruno stopped by my apartment with an unexpected proposition. He was planning another camping trip to Brandywine Falls that night and invited me to join him. My excitement was palpable, and I asked if Steve and Sudeep were also part of the plan. Bruno suggested I try it out first, and if I enjoyed the experience, we could invite them next time. The idea intrigued me, and I readily agreed. Bruno assured me that he had all the camping gear and food prepared, and that everything was already loaded in his car, and I only needed to bring spare clothes and a sleeping bag. As the clock neared 7 p.m., we set out, reaching the campground by 7:30. It was yet another night, illuminated by a full moon, casting an ethereal glow over the landscape. The campsite, adorned by the moonlight, left me captivated, and I found myself appreciating why Bruno cherished this place. Our first task was to set up the tent and unpack our supplies. The anticipation of the night's experience was building, fueled by the company of a trusted friend and the allure of the moonlit woods. Amidst conversations about our lives and aspirations, I couldn't resist capturing the picturesque scene before me, our tent silhouetted against the moonlit sky. I shared the photo on Facebook as a check-in in Brandywine Falls. Steve and Sudeep reacted with likes to my post almost instantly. As the evening progressed, hunger led us to a campfire where we cooked and savored a meal of baked sweet potato with chili and grilled chicken skewers tzatziki. The warmth of the fire and the satisfaction of a hearty meal were heightened by the camaraderie we shared. After dinner, Bruno embarked on a bike ride along the trail, allowing me a moment of solitude as I settled on a tree log, beer in hand, and gazed at the night sky. The tranquility of the night air soon caught up with me, and I dozed off. A sudden sound awakened me, a low growl that pierced through the silence of the night. My heart raced as I sat up, rubbing my eyes to clear my blurred vision. The sight that greeted me defied reason and logic. A big black wolf stood before me, its eyes fixed on mine. Fear surged through me, rendering me momentarily paralyzed as I grappled with the threat that loomed before me, and I fell off the log, unsure of how to react. As the seconds dragged on, I heard footsteps approaching from behind me, and a beam of light, intense and blinding, erupted from a flashlight. Accompanied by a siren-like sound, the light collided with the wolf's form, causing it to pause, seemingly disoriented. In that moment of confusion, the wolf hesitated, then turned and retreated, vanishing into the woods along the bike trail. Perplexed and shaken, I turned to find Steve and Sudeep, their flashlight equipped with an attached siren, ready for action. Their unexpected arrival and swift response had saved me from a perilous encounter. We exchanged glances, and our collective puzzlement mirrored in our eyes. Rising and shaking off the forest's grit, I questioned their unexpected arrival. When they saw my Facebook post, they drove to Brandywine Falls to surprise us. As we discussed the implications of what we had witnessed, Bruno's whereabouts emerged as a concern. With Steve and Sudeep by my side, We attempted to call him, only to find his cell phone inside the tent unanswered. As we deliberated our course of action, a decision was reached to alert the authorities. The police and park ranger arrived swiftly, and we recounted our experience to them. The park authorities asserted that the only large inhabitants of these woods were deer, coyotes, and raccoons. The existence of a wolf in the vicinity was unfathomable, a concept that stretched the boundaries of reality. Their response was laced with skepticism, suggesting that our encounter with the wolf was a trick of the mind. They proposed the possibility of it being a coyote. We, however, remained steadfast in our assertion, unanimous in our conviction that what we had seen was no mere illusion, as it was much bigger than a coyote. The police took Bruno's phone and car for inspection, launching a search operation for him. The uncertainty of his fate cast a heavy shadow over us, leaving us restless and unable to find solace in slumber. We retired to Sudeep's place for the night, our thoughts consumed by the inexplicable events that had unfolded. The morning sun brought no respite as I received a call from the park ranger. The discovery of Bruno's torn clothes and abandoned bike added another layer to the mystery. Moreover, park authorities had stumbled upon substantial footprints near the campfire site. Their zoology experts were unequivocal that these imprints were of a formidable wolf indeed. The veil of confusion deepened, and our fears escalated as the search in the woods yielded no trace of Bruno or the wolf. The university was informed, and Bruno's family in Germany was contacted. As his parents made their way to Cleveland, we were confronted with the magnitude of the situation. Their anguish mirrored our own, and we were helpless in the face of their grief. As time continued its march, the uncertainty persisted. The circumstances surrounding Bruno's disappearance remained unresolved, shrouded in shadows and unanswered questions. The bizarre link between his camping excursions and the full moon raised more questions than answers, leaving me haunted by the possibility of a reality beyond my intellectual capacity. The questions lingered in the air like an unresolved melody, each note deepening the enigma that had taken root in our lives. Why did Bruno embark on his solitary camping trips during the full moon? The correlation was undeniable, yet its significance remained shrouded in mystery. Was there an underlying reason, a connection to the moon's ethereal presence that only he could understand? The torn state of Bruno's clothes left us baffled. It was a detail that defied logical explanation, suggesting a violent encounter or a transformation beyond our comprehension. The riddle of his clothes held the potential to unveil a truth that had thus far eluded us. Where had Bruno gone on that fateful night, and why did he never return? The silence of the woods held the secrets of that night, a void that seemed to conceal answers we were ill-equipped to decipher. And then there was the wolf, the inexplicable, otherworldly presence that had startled us under the moonlight. The silhouette of the wolf against the moonlit sky remained etched in my memory, its gaze haunting and surreal. An unreasonable thought crossed my mind. Could that wolf have been Bruno himself? A transformed version of the friend I knew? The notion seemed preposterous. Bruno as a werewolf, a creature of myth and European folklore. But the mysterious link between his camping trips and the full moon planted the seed of doubt. Could folklore have entwined itself with reality, birthing a tale beyond the realm of reason? The idea that Bruno could transform into a wolf during the full moon was a notion, that straddled the line between fantasy and reality. It was a possibility that defied conventional wisdom, yet the events of that night had suspended the boundaries of our understanding. The full moon, once a symbol of beauty and illumination, now cast a shadow of doubt over my thoughts. Each time its radiant glow illuminated the night sky, questions surged within me, a relentless tide of ambivalence that refused to ebb. The truth, much like the moon's enigmatic glow, remained tantalizingly just beyond reach. And so, the mysteries of that night, the questions that had haunted my thoughts, and the shadow of Bruno's disappearance continued to linger. 15 years later today, the echoes of that fateful night still reverberate within me. In my dreams, I still find myself biking with Bruno on the university campus in Cleveland, an emotional reminder of the friendship that continues, untouched by time.